Good afternoon, everybody. I am Lauren Cohen, your host of Investing Across Borders, where we teach people to invest, live, work, and play across borders. I'm also an international legal and real estate expert, and I am here with my friend, colleague, and amazing entrepreneur, Penny Zenker. Penny, I have known for a couple of years. I met her through CEO Space. We were both on faculty, and Penny is all about systems, keeping things organized, getting massive return on your investment in systems. And she's been an amazing influence for me, and really just a very impact-driven, very empathetic, amazing entrepreneur. Penny, just say hi to our audience and just give us a little bit of your bio.
Well, hi, everyone. I'm happy to be here. So a little bit about my bio is, internationally, I started my own company when I was overseas living in Zurich, Switzerland, and I built it just from myself to a multi-million-dollar business, and I sold it to a public company in France. So got a lot of cultural experience.
That's definitely multicultural, cross borders.
And I'm
Swiss company sold to France from America. Definitely qualifies you to be on this podcast on many levels.
Totally. And there's a lot of good stories to talk about in that. And I also, while I was living overseas, I had a franchise for a kids play park that was a Spanish concept that we were franchising in Switzerland. So I've done that. And then, after I was doing all this business, I also decided to get back into being an entrepreneur, and I went into business coaching so that I had a little bit more flexibility in my schedule for my kids being born, and was turned out a couple of years later to be a Tony Robbins business coach, and worked with companies around the world. For 5 years, I worked with Business Breakthroughs, one of his companies.
Yes.
And that was an amazing experience. Also working with people in all different countries around the world. And then writing my own book. So I'm a bestseller, Amazon bestseller, The Productivity Zone, Stop the Tug of War with Time. As you said, I'm about systems, but I want to make that clear as I call myself the focusologist. And it's not just physical systems, it's also thinking systems, right? And all of those systems and the structure that we can put in place to think and act more strategically. So that's really what I'm all about.
What's the name of your podcast again, Ms. Penny?
My podcast is called Take Back Time.
Take Back Time. And I was a guest on her podcast. And to be honest with you, this is often, especially during COVID, one of our biggest challenges is, especially for entrepreneurs or service providers, lawyers that trade time for money. And right. If once you can get past that trading time for money, you're going to be able to take control of your time. And taking back time is the one thing that you can never get back after you give it away. And so taking back time or saving time or being more productive or having more systems is critical, no matter where you are in the world. Yeah. Now, let me ask you, have you found significant differences in running a business or operating in Europe versus in the US?
So I'll give you that wishy-washy answer of yes and no.
Okay, that's a lawyer answer. You sure you're not a lawyer?
Yeah, I could be a lawyer. Actually, I was almost a lawyer. I wanted to be a lawyer and went through a co-op in college and then decided, it's not for me.
Not so much.
But, it's more alike than you think in terms of the problems that businesses face are pretty much universal. I found that when I worked with companies around the world that, everybody has a challenge with time management, with cash flow, right? With managing people and hiring and getting the right people on board. But where the things differ is how you manage the people, right? And so there are some similarities and there are some differences in that, and understanding those is key to success when you're working across borders.
100%. And I think that also you've dealt with multiple cultural differences. And in one of my ebooks about going global, the key to being successful across borders is understanding and recognizing those cultural differences. Yes. Even companies as large as Target fail to take those cultural differences into play. into consideration. And the example I use is when Target went into Canada and failed, because everybody thinks Canada and the US are the same. There you go. Canada and the US are the same. Okay, I can tell you as a Canadian living in the US with dual citizenship, and I just got off a cross-border clubhouse meeting, it's not the same. Canadians and Americans, Canada and the US are not the same. That's why you need a green card or a visa to live and work in the US. And I think that you are just a perfect example, because probably, I mean, Switzerland, Spain, France, they're everybody thinks, oh, they're all part of the European Union. Well, yeah, but they're still different countries. And you still have to deal, like people in Switzerland, there's French Switzerland, there's German Switzerland, and then there's like the banking system, and how does that work, and how does that impact other countries in Europe? And it's just a lot of considerations that need to be taken into account. And as a franchise model with the Play Park, certainly you're going to appeal differently to the prospective franchisee, because they're not all it's not one size fits all, right?
Right. There's a lot of interesting stories in and around how culturally they're different. So if I might give a couple of examples.
Yes, I'd love that.
So like in the kids' play park, in the United States, there would be an opening time that would be from like 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. or to 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., right? So what I was shocked about is, well, they were closed over siesta time.
Yeah.
Or they were closed. I was like, how do you close at these hours? How do you not open until 1 o'clock, for instance? Like, what are you doing? There's so much more business that you could do. And actually what I saw in that, and what we can learn cross borders from other strategies, is that, well, actually you train people when to come. So you might be open fewer hours. That means that those fewer hours, you'll be able to pack more people in, because if you're doing the right marketing, you can train people, when to come. And I thought that's really interesting, because then that's a way to maximize your return on investment and your, the costs that you have associated with being open, the staff costs and everything.
For sure. And that then brings us back to trading time for money, and the expectation you create in your clients, or you establish. Like, if you don't set the boundaries, listen, I'm available during business hours. If you're texting me at 10 at night, you're not going to hear back from me. And I'm often very guilty of this, but the reality is it's the same thing. You're training the kids, you're training the parents to come to the play park at certain hours. You're training your clients, this is when I'm available. Find your question, and if you don't have it, it's obviously not that urgent. Wait till the next day. So it's
or
similar.
Email it. Condition them to email it, because what happens is that urgency is the gift and the curse of the entrepreneur.
For sure.
Right? Is we have this sense of urgency where we want to deliver that high level of customer service and respond right away, because we think, they need and expect to hear from us. But sometimes they just need to get something off their chest, and it might be at any time. So, condition them, give them the channels for different times of when are your open office hours? You can contact me during these times. Otherwise, the best way to reach me is by email. And I even had one person that I was working with, and they got to a point where what they would do is they would take longer for somebody that tried to call them and leave them a voicemail message. They would purposely not get back to them as quickly as they would if they sent an email in the right channels that they asked them to send it, just to prove a point and to train them that I will get back to you quicker if it comes in this method. And they could see, oh, wow, it is much quicker in this way. So, there's lots of ways to train people how to and how to set those boundaries so that they work.
Yeah. Again, it's creating expectations. And if the boundaries are clear, the expectations are set, and then they're accepted. The challenge is, like for that play park or for us, if they were open from 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. and then suddenly they closed and they started opening at 1, there'd be a lot of frustrated parents, because you set the trajectory at 12-hour days, and now you've shifted that. That's the challenge of an entrepreneur. is if you shift within the scope of providing service, and you were trading time for money, and now you want to shift to, I'm sorry, these are my hours. You have to retrain and reframe the whole process.
That's
So
true. That is a challenge. You want to, as much as possible, do that from the beginning. I think the other challenge that I was alluding to as well is it's our mindset. Our mindset makes us think that we have to accommodate all of those hours, right? Our mindset
right.
is limited and feels like we are accommodating everyone else versus this is the service we provide and this is the context in which we provide it. And we, in project management, they call it scope creep, right? When you define the project like this, and then all of a sudden it becomes like this because you don't have any boundaries or set any any type of guidelines. So I think we need to get out of the mindset, like you said, of trading time for money, or it has to be like this, or this is what's expected of us, and decide what is the right service that we want to provide, and how does that fit into the needs, and make that perfect combination by creating those, managing those expectations.
Yeah, and creating a balance as well. And I think that it's also about providing a higher quality level of service. It's quality versus quantity.
Yeah.
You could have somebody that's available 24/7, but if they don't know what they're doing, they may as well be available zero. But you could be available for 1 hour, like you said, the office hour, let's say, or office hours, 2 hours a day. They come in, they're asked the questions, they get it answered. It doesn't take you 6 hours to answer their question. You can get the answer because you know the information. That's the key and the differential. And I think that if we can reframe what we deliver, and this is, like Penny said, it's pervasive. Everybody, everywhere has similar business issues. They may be different in how they manifest. They may be more in some places, more passively aggressively defined or delivered, right? Because people want to hide behind the veil of professionalism, or maybe they're being polite or whatever.
Right.
And they used to call me the stern Canadian, right? Because I would be like, I wore my heart on my sleeve, and I sometimes didn't couch what I said, and like a lot of Americans tend to couch what they say. I would just kind of say it, and they'd be like, whoa, like, where's that coming from? So you have to temper it a little bit, and
knowing who you're talking to,
knowing.
right? It's funny that you say that, and I was laughing as you said passive aggressive, because many people, in Switzerland are passive aggressive. They won't say to your face what they actually think, but then they'll write you a letter or something like that. Like, like as something as simple as I was learning how to play the saxophone. I was all excited, and I did it over lunchtime. And, and I had seen my neighbors in the afternoon and said hi and whatever. And the next day I had a letter in my mailbox highlighting the ordinance that you cannot make noise between 12 and 1. That's quiet time. Like, they could have just come over when I saw them, said, hey, Penny, this is when I rest, and I'd really appreciate it if you could find another time to do it, or something that was like in contact, right? But the passive aggressive and the way that it was written and highlighted, and it was just, it's a different culture. So you have to get used to understanding, and they didn't mean it in an attacking kind of way.
Right.
So you have to get used to that. How can you work with people that have a different way of communicating? And it's not easy. Like, another quick example, if I might share it, because it's funny. When I sold my IT company in Switzerland, I sold it to a French company. And when I started to make these trips to Paris to meet with the executive team, they were very aggressive with me. I mean, they talked to me as like in such disrespect, and with such, like, at one point it was yelling at me. And that is certainly not anything that I have ever been used to. And I took it a little personally. I was like, what, who are you to talk to me like that?
Right.
And then, like the next day or the next interaction that I had with him, he was just all like, like nothing ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, that is such a different, and I've understood that is in passionate cultures, right? As you might have people that behave in that way, and that's their management style. You see that less, I think, in the United States than you do like in those, passionate countries.
Right.
And I was shocked, but I still had to figure out how I was going to work with this person with that type of style. And yet at the same time, hold my boundaries to
Yeah.
say, hey, that's not okay
Not
for
acceptable. Right.
me. Right.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's definitely a common theme, like working mostly inbound into the US. People have to adjust the way that they do business. Because when they come from Israel or France or Morocco or Spain or those countries that do kind of, it's like, very, very authentic, and we're trying to
Right.
learn to be authentic, too much authenticity can hurt in certain cultures. So you have to, again, like you said, you have to know your audience, and it's super, super important. Give us an example of one thing you did that was a faux pas, let's say.
Well, I'm sure I had many faux pas. So one that comes to mind is just when you're growing your business, right? And thinking that like language is the only difference. So we were developing technology tools and we were going into other countries, and we didn't realize that like a Microsoft version in Switzerland or in the US or in Finland are completely different. They have different, because I guess because of the language on the system, but even something as simple as that, right? You need to do your due diligence as you start to work in different countries and in the context of what you're working, and really understand what are all the differences? What are the things that you need to know when you're working with that country? So I didn't anticipate that. And that exponentially created a lot, exponential amount of work and challenges for us, because then the software wasn't working and we didn't have that understanding of how to properly debug it and things like that. So I don't mean to get too technical, but it's really about the preparation that goes into that I wasn't aware of, that makes a huge difference in working with other cultures.
Yeah, and I think that these days, there's a lot of people in those countries that act as kind of a concierge to help you adjust and adapt to the culture, or prep you if you're in a Fortune 500 company or you're dealing with these cross-border. It matters to work with people that are kind of on both sides, that can help you prepare, because preparation is going to be a key. As
Right.
Benjamin Franklin said, a failure to plan is a plan to fail. And it's really true. That's not just about business plans. It's about having the right team in place and preparing. And of course, how long ago was this? 20 years ago, Penny? Things were
Yeah.
different, and we didn't have the
Yeah.
internet.
Oh
And
yeah.
we didn't have like now I could talk to France, no problem. And I'd learn how to talk with the person. Okay, I can speak French, but that's not really even relevant. You just have to learn. I remember we had a French guy come on one of our calls about my real estate company, and the guy like sat through the whole meeting, and at the end he goes, "Nope, not interested." Boom, and he was so mad, and I'm like, "What the heck?" And it's just like, that's just the way they are. It's nothing.
Right.
And he was so rude, and yet some other times we'll have completely opposite. So it really does depend on your audience and knowing how to address them, and doing some research ahead of time to figure out just like people and culture, because both of them are super
Right.
important.
And so like you said, it's, you can take back time by doing the right preparation.
Right.
And like you said, working with experts who are already know what's going on in that space, they can help you to get from A to Z, in half the time or
Half the time,
fraction of the time.
for
And
sure.
why make your own mistakes when you can learn from other people's mistakes? Why do it the hard way when you can do it the easier way? And it may cost a little bit more upfront, right? There's
Yes.
an investment,
Right.
but that investment pays off multiple folds, right? When it comes to doing it right. We all know what happens when we do something and we do it wrong, and then we have to do it over. And the cost of doing it over, right? Or
And the time.
reworking something is much more costly.
But people, unfortunately, like in my space, and I don't know if you see this, but people have to be hit. They have to hit that wall sometimes. Like I have a guy who came to me to invest in real estate. Deep pockets, seemed like he was ready to go. I sent him a proposal about how to just create the structure of the cross-border investing. He said, I'm not, it was $5,000. It wasn't very much. I'm not doing that. I'm going to do it myself. I know what to do. Okay, you can plan your cross-border tax stuff and okay, like whatever.
Right.
And
Right.
then like about 3 or 4 weeks later, he came to me and goes, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Right. And he
Yeah.
lost 4 weeks.
Right.
And, of time. And then the question is also, what investments did he make in between, right?
Right, that were messed up.
And that's somebody you recognize pretty quickly. What I typically find is people who say, I'm going to do it myself. They end up coming back, but much later, like a year
later. Oh, for sure.
later,
When they've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Exactly.
And oh, for sure. I wish I had known you then. Listen, I had a woman on the show the other day. She tried to get her visa 3 times. She said, I wish I had known you then. I wish that everybody could know people like Penny and myself to help you save time, because really, that's really what it is by paving a path to success, I'm helping you save time, and helping you save time in turn puts money in your pocket. And that's the critical thing to remember every step of the way. And I think that way too many people forget.
People are around you, right? Listen to all that excitement around you. Everybody's so excited about this.
100%. Penny, how do people reach you?
So I have a website that they could go to, pennieskeynote.com, and that pretty much has links to, the things that I talk about, to the different tools that I have, and they can reach me by email at penny@pennieskeynote.com.
So it's PENNYS keynote, like keynotespeech.com.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
Cool. That's awesome. And do you have any parting words you'd like to share about investing across borders and not trading time for money?
I think it would just come back to the point of do it, because you open up so many opportunities to take away those borders and boundaries, and do it smart. And that means, look for the experts in the space that you're looking to develop in, so that you can get ahead of the learning curve.
That's so very true. And these days, there really are no borders. But you still, despite the fact that you can do business anywhere on the internet, you still need to set up that right structure. And without that structure, you will end up banging your head against the wall and throwing away time that you can't ever get back.
Right, or you'll structure something in a wrong way, right? That, like, I'm working with a company right now that is outside of the U.S., looking to come into the U.S., and and they're concerned about the whole tax and liability issues, right, that could come in the U.S. And so you would structure your company completely different with that understanding, and you need to understand from the experts what's the best way to structure it to maximize, your result.
It's, I have tax experts that deal with people from literally all over the world, and you don't want to give the tax guy that money. The $5,000 you may spend today is going to save you $100,000 at the end of the year, and that's super important to remember. Right. So it, like Penny said at the beginning, it may cost you a little more now, but it's going to save you so much over the course of a year, 2 years, multiple years. So I thank you so much for your time today. I wish you to stay warm. I hope that you feel better. You had a little sled accident. Please feel better soon. And I'll be in touch with you. And I look forward to posting this very, very soon. Thanks again. This is Lauren Cohen, real estate and legal expert at Investing Across Borders, where we teach you how to invest, live, work, and play across borders. Thank you again, and stay safe. Bye, everybody.